You don't become a doctor without going to school. You don't become a lawyer without going to school. I'm lucky and I'm blessed and I'm talented, or whatever that even means. But I just don't feel like I have the tools to do this fucking job at the level that I want to do it at for the long length of time that I want to be doing it at. So it just was like a necessity for me.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy, with yours truly, Michael Kahan.
Wow. Today's guest is fierce, determined, motivating, kind, knows herself, and won't take no for an answer. I really applaud Leven for bringing up and speaking out about some of the negative or systemic issues layered within the industry, which aren't just limited to Hollywood, but ones we all face in all industries. It is people like Leven who raise such issues that allow for change, and I found it so inspiring to listen to her many insights alongside her amazing, resilient, and forward-thinking approach. Leven is one who takes ownership of her happiness and her life, and I think we can all take a leaf out of her book. So let's get into today's chat. Leven Rambin is an award-winning actor and director, as well as a writer and a singer. Her new album, Leven, is now out, or will be out in a few days. Just check her socials for the latest info. You might recognize her from her many roles, such as Hunger Games, The Path, True Detective, The Forever Purge, Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, Gone, Grey's Anatomy, Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, The Tomorrow People, One Tree Hill, Lipstick Jungle, The Big Ugly, Lost Child, Wizards of Waverly Palace, All My Children, Law and Order, CSI Miami, Two Night Stand, Red Giant, The Dirt, Walter, and Mank, just to name a few. So in this wide-ranging chat, we talk about creating new pathways towards success, not taking no for an answer, vision boards, personal power and resilience, her abundant mindset, the negative systemic issues of Hollywood, Hunger Games, going back to study, fitting in, and proving the world and others wrong. Also, before we get into this epic episode, in case you aren't aware, the videos of this chat are now available on YouTube under Michael Kahan. That's Kahan with the K, unless you're listening to it already. I find this adds a new element and dynamic to these chats. I will still be posting snippets of these conversations on my Instagram page under Funny in Failure. So check them out if you want to stay up to date or in the loop for upcoming episodes, or you want to ask a question for a future guest. I'd also love it if you would share the podcast or share your takeaways from the chat. It really motivates me, helps the podcast grow, and ensures I can lock amazing guests like this one. And just as a final reminder, the podcasts come out every Monday at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, with the video to follow the following day. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
We were talking about your vision board off air. I'd love to know what's on it. You've got, I think you mentioned there's Chanel, there's Kanye West, there's some books, there's a figurine of you on Hunger Games. Tell me about it and tell me how you got into it.
Into the vision board?
Vision board, yeah.
So my friend Natalie, she's very passionate about like wellness and self-care, and she often does like vision board parties and
oh wow.
Yeah, we're actually in a mastermind group together based off of Think and Grow Rich. What's his name? Napoleon Hill. So she's just like a good friend that keeps me like motivated and like, you know, on track with like my goals and stuff. So we had a little party, and this is my vision board that I made a couple months ago for 2022. And there's two Kanye Wests here. I don't know if you can see that. Double Kanyes, because I just do think he's a genius. And I would like to express myself in as many different mediums as he does, which I think I'm beginning to with as much fearlessness as he does. There's glossy hair and glowing skin. That's very important.
Definitely.
There's Timothy Chalamet's great performances. There's a quote that says, "Don't focus on the short term, stay married to long-term vision. Nada es imposible." That's Spanish for nothing is impossible. And director and some romance here that hasn't manifested quite yet. It's J-Lo and Owen Wilson, it looks like, in her movie. But so that's the love section. And some chic girl right here, just looking cute. And yeah, so I just take a peek over at that whenever, just during the day.
I think that's amazing. I'd love to know what a vision party entails. Like, how did you ever find it? And yeah, I just find this very interesting.
It's a vision boarding party. It's just for, like, I guess, like-minded friends of yours that are motivated and, building something, whether, whatever their dreams are. All of us getting together and kind of talking about what we're working on and our goals for the year or the month or whatever. And getting it's got a very girly thing, I guess. It's like getting magazines, cutting them out, photos that inspire you and keep your vision intact and clear in the day-to-day. So you kind of put it somewhere prominent in your house, your home, that
So
you
can see it.
Yeah, and it impresses your subconscious and sort of reminds you what you're doing, so yeah, that's it.
A few of my friends, we kind of had a similar thing, and we'd probably call it a goal party, where we almost, I don't even know if we did presentations, but we outlined our points of where we want to be, what we wanted to achieve, what was holding us back. And then we discussed how we can all move forward together. It was brilliant. We only did it once because then 2 of them went away, but I think you've motivated me to get back into it because it does clarify a vision for you in the sense that you're seeing it every day. It's a nice reminder in a sense of what you want to achieve. And especially when you have potentially bad days or off days, you can go back to it and say, this is what I'm doing it for. And you mentioned long-term as well. And that's really important because often we want something with the click of our fingers. That doesn't work like that. Overnight success.
Whenever things, I mean, also like the images really, kind of impress on your subconscious, really well, repetitively seeing it. But whenever things aren't working out for me or in whatever area, whether, it's my career or personally, or something doesn't come through that I thought was going to, or this person wasn't who I thought they were, or this relationship doesn't work out or whatever, I always look at that quote, like, don't focus on the short term, stay married to long-term vision. So it's just kind of like, it gets me past that disappointment or that, like, frustration, or the want to control that particular thing, and reminds me to keep it moving and stay focused on the long term.
That can be still really hard, especially in your industry where we want things, I guess it's very easy to compare in this industry. I guess comparing is very common in all areas, but even like when you're filming something, by the time it gets to air, if it gets to air, it takes such a long time and we want things very quickly, but it can be a really slow process. So I like how you've got something to slow it down. It's
easy to be distracted, I guess, by time and impatience and what seems like one door closing, always. So many doors closed for me today. I can't even tell you. So it's just
like today.
Like literally today. Yeah. Just, it's a nonstop merry-go-round of doors closing and me just hoping that another one opens. And it does eventually, but I have to stay married to, divorced from the long-term, the short-term and married to the long-term vision. So.
Well, I think you're a great example of this actually. And we'll get into, if you want to discuss it, what happened in that regard. I heard a story, I think it was a few years ago, and this is a huge credit to you. I was so impressed when I heard this. I think you'd booked maybe it was HBO series.
Okay.
HBO. And it was really awesome. This is what every actor wants, especially back in the day. And you got the role and then I can see you nodding, but I'll just give a pre-context.
Yeah.
And I think you were about to shoot or about to start filming in 2 days and you realized the role wasn't for you, but you still had the courage to say no. And I think that was awesome. And I want to hear you talk about it, but just leaving a project like that and the magnitude of that project, which could be inverted commas a career killer, agents wouldn't be happy, all of these things which you'll get into, and you've still been able to blossom because you took a chance, not a chance, because you followed your gut. So I'd love you to tell me what happened there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently, actually, because, you know, I was younger. I was, you know, maybe 20 when that happened. And I think about that often, of just the courage that I had and the balls that I had. And it was a very public thing, you know, and I remember feeling pretty tormented about it for like a week, and asking like everyone's opinion in the world that I knew. And ultimately I just knew I couldn't do it. And I wish I had as much, you know, I mean, I think I still do have as much faith in myself, but like I was a little bit more like, I didn't overthink it as much. Cause I was younger. I was like a little less like, you know, wounded or whatever. More of like a beginner's mindset. I hadn't seen and been through some of the things I've seen and been through that causes you to doubt yourself more.
Yep.
And so, but I literally thought about that a few days ago, because I've had a few situations similarly to that where I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I don't know why. I just can't put my finger on it. And maybe 4 years ago, I would have wanted to do it, but now I don't. And I can't really explain it. And some people don't understand it. But at the end of the day, I'm really grateful that I've always had like an abundance mindset. I've always felt like, fuck them. You know, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but like,
you are. Yep.
I've always valued myself a lot in this industry, you know, and that has always served me well. I've never been in like uncomfortable situations. I've never done movies that I just are straight up embarrassed about. You know what I mean? I've never like done anything that I didn't want to do, for the most part. And because I value myself, and I don't need, like, I don't feel like I need to answer to anyone or like get anyone's approval, because I think I'm the most important thing, which is, you know, sounds cocky when you say it like that.
It's very important and true.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, I don't give a damn if I walk out of this show. I'm not doing this shit, and it's their loss or whatever, you know? But I've also, you know, that's also kind of traumatized me a little bit, in the fact that like, I know I let people down. Like, I know that I it can cause, you know, upset on both sides or whatever. And it's like, I'm very cautious. A similar situation happened last year. Actually, I booked a film and I ended up not wanting to do it. I just didn't want to do it. I don't know why. It just seemed good to me at the time. It kind of got away from me. And then next thing I knew, they were wanting me to come to, you know, Germany for 3 months or whatever to film. And I just was like, this isn't enough money. It doesn't feel right to me. Like, it's just, I don't think I want to do this. And it wasn't like any moral objection. It was just like, personally, I just didn't want to do it. I just simply didn't want to do it. I felt dread. And I didn't want to do it. And it wasn't like I was having some huge strategic reason as to why. I just was like, no, none of this sounds good to me anymore. And it was disappointing to, you know, a few people. So, you know, I try to be more, you know, be more like honest, I guess, up front nowadays.
That's really important, but also at a macro vision or macro point of view, all you can really do is control yourself and how you feel. And if you don't feel it and you're going to go and do this for a few months, it can actually negatively impact the rest of the show as well. So it is forward thinking. But with the previous example, like that was, you can explain, but I only heard a very small snippet. Like that role you did not want to do because I think it was quite graphic and there was some things that did not align well with you. And that's obviously, you know, I'm not in this arena, but if you're doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable or gross, whatever the words are, you've got every justification for wanting to leave. And it sounds like with the other role you're talking about, things have changed as well. And yes, there's other people and it's very important to be mindful of them. But at the end of the day, if the role's not necessarily what you signed up for and there's some things that make you feel uncomfortable, then I could say this from my high horse. There's no reason to be like, oh no, what am I doing? Like things have changed and you got to back yourself, which you do.
Yeah. The first one I was, again, I was 19, 20. I was really impressed to be cast by HBO. I got to the table read and I read the first episode and it was like, okay, like, pretty graphic sex scene or whatever with like an older man, which by in and of itself is like just disturbing enough. Now that I think about it at my age now, 31, I'm like, that's just so fucking disgusting. The things that I did without realizing at the time, like how disgusting they were. Like I've been having sex scenes since I was like 15, 16 years old, and it's
wow,
so upsetting and disturbing to me now that like, not only was that like written in for me, but that other actors like were like, doing that, and that I was just so sexualized and I didn't know it was wrong. I mean, when you're 16, you think it's fucking cool that the older, hotter guys want to make out with you or whatever, like I felt cool. I felt like I was like a part of being an adult, whatever. This is another rant, but
no, it's very important.
So, I look back now and I'm like, how could somebody do that? Why would someone write that role like that? That's disgusting. The fact that they did that and that I was consenting into so much of the capacity that I had. No, anyway, that makes me really livid. But this was, several years later and it was way more graphic. And there was like literally like the actor was going to be like, basically, for lack of a better word, like just, I don't know, it was graphic sex scenes with like all kinds of screaming, expletives and like very pornographic, like, and I sat there in the table read, like reading this in front of the whole HBO, in front of the whole,
wow,
50 people. And I was just like, I had no idea, like the scenes did not point to that. The audition didn't contain anything like that. It's one thing to say like partial nudity. It's another thing to say, come inside me, daddy, as somebody
Jesus Christ,
leaning you over a car with your ass out. I mean, that's honestly, it's just another level that
I there's
wasn't anticipating, and I just couldn't, like, nothing against sex and expressing yourself. Just personally for me, I shut down and I was like, this is so beyond what I feel comfortable with. And
good for you.
I, told my agents, no, I wasn't going to do it. But it was tough. It was tough, but I'm really glad I did. And I booked the Hunger Games like 2 months later, or maybe a month. And
did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I just, they were like, HBO is never going to hire you again. Or like, I think HBO like said that or something like that. And I was like, fine, good. I don't give a shit. I was like, by the way, all you people that are saying that right now are going to be fired in like 4 or 5 years. So
that's very true.
I'm 20. Like, I don't give a fucking shit. So I went and worked for HBO when I was 26 again.
Nice.
So it's just like, I wasn't going to let them like intimidate me or make me feel like less than for, I was so cocky, I was so cocky then. And I'm so glad I was, because I didn't put up with shit that a lot of other girls did, who now they walk around in fear, that they have to be a good girl or whatever. And I was always like, fuck that shit. I don't know where I got the attitude from, but I just always have had it. And it remains in me to this day.
I'm so impressed with you, and I'm so proud that you have this fierce, like, determined courage, because we've heard about this, unfortunately, too much on the podcast. People feel they kind of have to say yes, or that there's such fear, and knowing that you might never work again when you've put all of your eggs in this basket. This is what you love. You love the creativity, and to still have that foresight and courage, and also that like fierce, like oomph to say, I don't care. It's going to work out in some way. Very rare. Unpack this for me, because to be told that you're never going to be work again would just be so triggering and so, yeah. Is it a family thing? Where do you tell me your secrets?
I'm looking back on myself as a young actor, as a young person, where I got this chutzpah from. I simply don't know. I always just felt like I was so good. I knew I was talented, and I don't know. Maybe I had a chip on my shoulder or something to prove, or something that made me be like, well, fuck you. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong, kind of. Maybe that's like where it came from. Nice. Like an authority issue. I don't know. But, you know, I've only dealt with, I'd say, a handful of like assholes in my career, like men assholes, female assholes, you know, and I can't say that I always had the courage or the balls or the, you know, self-worth to like stand up to them in the moment. And it really damaged me and hurt me at the time. But when it came to different, I just never had a fear. I just never had a fear of like needing to please someone else. Maybe because I was so successful so early on, I never had to jump through a bunch of hoops in order to earn my success. I was blessed and gifted with these roles, and I felt like I deserved them and I earned them, and I felt like I could compete if that's, you know, I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to do in order to get roles. I just didn't believe that. I just didn't believe that. In fact, I thought it was like a detriment if you were to be, you know, somewhat sexual towards like a producer or something like that. I just never saw, if anyone was like inappropriate with me in order to get a role, that was an automatic no for me. I don't know.
That makes me want to vomit. Does that is that common, especially in those times?
I mean, I'll say this, it's actually more common as like a director. Now at this point in my career, it's like,
oh, how gross that is.
It's so gross. This morning I had a situation like this. It's just like, and again, I'm really grateful that I have the outlook that I have, because this man said something really inappropriate to me today in a professional, you know, email. And
an email, that's okay. Not that I'm condoning any form, but especially an email.
I just am like, and it was like a very new business relationship, and he said one thing. It wasn't even like that overt, but it was like enough for me to go, nope, this is done, called off, not happening, don't care if you were just joking, don't care if that's your personality, don't care if you don't or apologize, this isn't happening, it didn't rub me the right way, we're done. And he, you know, that was the end of that. So again, one door closing,
many doors will open given your history and your chutzpah.
So yeah, I'm just with the directing and the producing, it's, I don't feel as confident or like as experienced, you know, so I ask these men for like money or, you know, to finance the projects, or not just for my personal bank account, but, you know, when I said that, I was like, wow, that sounds really bad. You know, for producing or like, you know, anything, it always has, you know, I've experienced that it has some some sexual tension undertones. And I'm like, this is, like, I feel so bad for, I feel like I understand more what women have been saying this whole fucking time, is like, there's, you know, and I don't see myself as a victim of it. I really don't. I'm like, I still believe that I'm going to be successful in whatever I'm going to do. And whether it's men or women that I work with, I don't care. And I think there's going to be assholes no matter where you look. And, but it's been shocking to me how I've been treated and spoken to, as a director producer. I'm like, is this really happening? And how is this business built on men like this? Like, how is this? I'm a believer, you know, in like good people, good integrity, maturity and professionalism, and it blows my absolute brain out of my ear holes to see that these men in power, like men that are making decisions, are just like scared little mommy's issues boys with like sexual frustrations and insecurities and the need for approval that they have to, you know, hit on women in order to feel like validated. It's pathetic to me. And it's like, is this whole fucking town built on a house of cards? Like, I don't understand. Am I delusional to think that there's like high quality people here? Am I crazy? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So, but it's just not going to be, it's just, maybe you have to look a little harder, or you just sift through some things. So it's, I still have the determination to stick to my standards, but I will say that I've been exposed to a lot more of this shit as a director producer.
I want to pigeonhole the directing and the producing, because that's very important. And I think you are right. I've been very blessed to speak to so many people, and they've spoken about issues like these or similar issues. And you're in it, so you obviously know a lot more than me. But I think there are so many high quality people. I'm not justifying the other people. And I think when you say, like, when you didn't accept that HBO series, that they're going to be fired in 4 years, I'm very hopeful, maybe blindly optimistic, that these people will hopefully be completely out of the business. And we're going to have more people like you who are running the show, and we won't allow characteristics like this. I hope it's getting better. I hear it is, but I'm not in it.
I think it's like a systemic issue, like,
yeah.
That has been bred since the beginning. And it like similarly to politics, honestly, where it's like
exactly
boys club that has like bred and hid, you know, and kind of engendered this kind of behavior and toxicity, and they answer to other toxic men who answer to other toxic men who answer to other toxic men. So the pyramid of like decision making is like disgusting, you know, four different layers of crap. And so that aren't smart necessarily. They're not clever. They're not any more talented. You know, it's just because they've just been like, doctored in. I don't know if that's not the
no. Yeah.
Ushered in over time. So that's kind of what I'm saying. And I'm like, you're making multi-million-dollar decisions. Like, you can't even write an email correctly. Like, this is scary. That this is the person that signs off on my dreams. Oy, yoy, yoy. So yeah, eventually I hope the next generation, like that wipes out, and, you know, actually intelligent people have a chance to,
I really believe that. I know that I've written quite a few screenplays, and I'm very solid. And this has been a good like breeding ground to meet amazing, like-minded people, in a sense that I will only work with people, and I know I can say that from my high horse, that are like lovely and empowering. I believe in the vision. I will have a no like ego rule. You throw your ego out at the door. I've heard that before. I don't care if I get like a person who's not as talented. There is no way, given what I've heard, and there seems to be more opportunities now in the sense of going through like the back door or other doors. I will not allow it. I know sometimes realities don't align, and you need money to create things, but I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that it doesn't happen. Hopefully I can be a very tiny, small cog in the machine. And I know that you are a much bigger piece in the machine, and we will change this. And I really, I truly believe this.
Great. Well, I'm sorry if I'm coming off as very negative. It's been a rough day.
No, I really, really applaud you for bringing it up, especially that it's fresh, because it is true. And it's that this happens in other professions as well. It's not just a Hollywood thing as well. But also I appreciate that you're in it. You've been able to see, we get those two examples of how it's happened before, and you still were able to thrive. Like that story of getting Hunger Games after potentially losing your career 2 weeks later, unheard of. Yeah, you can say you were younger and you were less, what was your word, like wounded, but you've got more life experience now. You've done more work on yourself. You're more, not accustomed. You've grown and you've learned, and your skills have improved. If anything, it will only like happen massively more upwards, the better opportunities. If that makes sense. That's my rant.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I also, just last thing on that, when you like say no to something, because agents or managers, whoever's in your team, when you say no to, is it HBO? Yeah, HBO.
Yeah.
They're coming from, they want the money as well. They're
Right.
worried because they probably, I don't know what the dynamic is in your relationships, but predominantly they're probably like real estate agents. They want the sale.
Right.
And so
Sure.
when you say no, they can also be like, you're making the wrong decision, but they're not really thinking about you. They're
No.
thinking about the money. So
Right.
how have you been able to navigate that? That's also
I-
quite tough.
Yeah, I know that, I know that about it. So I always just know that there's most likely going to be some pushback,
Yep.
just because it's also their livelihood and they got to eat, and it's, their kids are starving or going to private school or whatever. I get that. But at the end of the day, I didn't come here to make them happy or make them money. I came here to make myself happy, and I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care. So I might struggle a little bit with like disappointing them, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'd rather disappoint you than myself. So I
You,
will make money. I will make, we'll all make money again. Money will always come around, I'm not worried about that. But I'm not gonna focus on that.
I think with the mentality that you're talking about, and I think it's really important when we treat ourselves as number one and we have the self-respect, the boundaries, the personal power to say no when things aren't in alignment with ourselves. It might take longer in some regards, but it actually works out better long-term. And you're a good example to this. If you say yes to everything and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you might burn out. It might be the wrong role for you. You might do a terrible job. You might get into experiences that make you feel very uncomfortable. There's so many other things. And so it appears that there's not quite this foresight. You've got the foresight, you've got the vision board, you know what you want to achieve. And yes, if a door closes, like we said, you're going to open up hopefully 10 more new ones. But I'm surprised that, and this isn't just limited to Hollywood, I'm surprised that people are they just want that quick sale. But if you do like, let's say a bad movie or a bad TV show and you don't come out looking well, or maybe they cut your scenes or you're not even that involved, doesn't really matter. That can actually negatively impact you in the sense. Whereas if you like waited and you found a role, if you're in that position where you can do that, to find a better role that's more in alignment with you, because people can sense it in a sense. Like when you found this role or you're in this role where you're like really passionate about, people see that.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that there's such a lack of like foresight.
Well, I think, I've always had that vision for myself, and I've never, like, again, I said, I've never really done anything that I'm like embarrassed of, or there's nothing on my entire career history that I'm like, oh, what a disaster. I've never sacrificed my integrity for money, like ever. Maybe like one time, like, okay, like it's been a rough couple years, but even then it wasn't like, oh my God, like I'm talking to a squirrel and it's an alien. Like it was still like
that could still be fun, but yeah.
Well, I knew that I could get through it and I would make it the best that I could. And I was still going to fight for it to be as good as it could be. But it was the only time that I've ever been like, but I needed money straight up at that time. So it's like, whatever. In the last 15, 20 years, almost, like it's the only time that I can say I've done that. But
can I just stop you on that? That there's nothing wrong with getting the money. What I've gathered from you, it's about that personal power, that dignity, that I'm not going to do something that makes me feel uncomfortable and gross.
Right.
Like everyone needs to do roles to earn a living and maybe grow.
Yeah, everyone needs to earn a living, but I always came from the sense of like, I'd rather be true to myself and my taste and my standards and whatnot than and get another job or do something. And if people think they have to do, stuff that makes them uncomfortable in order to make money or survive, that's an excuse and it's not true. So, and maybe I sound privileged saying that, but it's just not true. So again, it's the long-term vision and not the quick fix, but some people do look at this industry as a money grab. Like I know several actors that they don't give a damn about there's no like artistic vision. There's no.
Oh, really?
No.
How do they survive?
they're not doing it for the same reasons I'm doing it. They just don't have the same sense of values, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some people are just here because they want to make money, and acting is acting. It's whatever. It's not like some soul passion, so they're just like, yeah, it's 14 different Christmas movies and a commercial. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they don't care in the same way. There's not that long-term version. They want to have a family, live in Ohio, and have a farm, and that's just a different life path than me. And so I'm not judging that. I'm just saying I know people that do that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I'm surprised with that mentality, because what are like over 90% of actors aren't working at any given time. I don't know what the statistic is. So I'm surprised if you don't have the passion, because this is an industry, through my perspective, where if you don't have passion, or at least the love of the craft, you're in for a tough time. The rejections, the bullshit, the everything, the lack of work.
The thing is, if you don't care, none of that shit bothers you.
Oh, true. But still not working though. It's very tough.
Yeah, but if you have a full life, you don't notice it. You don't take it as personally, I guess. So I wouldn't know really, because I don't really take rejection personally. I really don't care. Again, I just don't care. Sometimes I get all bent out of shape, but I've been doing this for long enough where I'm like, all right, fuck it. Like,
is there a journey on that? Because I would imagine starting up young, everyone's young. They've got these eager eyes. You want this, you don't get it, but that's just the nature.
Depressed for weeks, sobbing.
Yep.
Like,
how did you work on that?
Whole heartbroken. I think the pain got so bad that there was this one role in particular. I'm not going to say what it was, but if you have any clue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I say it to the ones listening? Or
sure. Yeah.
the Marilyn Monroe picture, which is very cool.
Yeah. There was that one crushed me so deeply to my core, that I think that was the last time I got like so attached to the idea of doing something. That was probably 6 years ago. I just sort of realized that I wasn't going to allow myself to like become so attached to something that would allow me to be that devastated. Like, again, so and then I have found a way to just believe that everything works in my favor and it's not a big deal. So, and there's always something around the corner, or there's not, or there's some reason why, and I mean, that one still bugs me, I'm not gonna lie, but it's like 700 years later, so what am I gonna do? But yeah, I just learned how to not be attached and desperate. I think a lot of people are desperate out here, and way overly dependent on this job to make them happy and fulfilled. And it's like, it's not the job's responsibility to make you a happy person. If you're depending on that in order to start your life or feel good about yourself, like, you're really shooting yourself in the foot and you're being a victim, and that's your fault. So, and I've done it, I've been there, but I'm also not sitting at home crying when I don't work for a year. Like, I'm like, all right. I mean, I have weeks or weekends or whatever where I get like,
yeah, naturally.
Yeah, but I'm not like, oh, if I could someone would just hire me. It's so unfair. No, I don't know. No.
Reading between the lines, I think I jotted down about 12 points. You've obviously done a serious amount of work on yourself, so kudos to you. But it's also so interesting that in this role that you really wanted with Marilyn Monroe, and how, like, it still stings, but how that was actually sounds like a blessing in disguise of how it taught you to kind of not be so attached. I know you're laughing.
If you want to call it that, yeah.
Well, that seems like that.
Yeah, I guess. When you just get your heart crushed so deeply that you have no choice but to adapt. That's what that was. But yeah, I kind of realized, like, yeah, attaching that much is gonna, is not good for you. So yeah, I guess it was a blessing in disguise.
You're laughing, but I think it was. I think it taught you an important.
I'm laughing through the tears.
yeah. I'm glad that you bring that up. You said so many different points, but two things that I wanted to touch on is it's not the role of the job to make you happy. I think that's what you said. It's our responsibility to be happy, and I think that's so important. And often, and I speak this has happened to me many times. I think if I get the something, that's going to make me happy. Yeah, it'll make me happy, but I have to be full and whole before that. It's not these external things.
Because it makes you desperate if you're not. And then the desperation breeds more rejection, failure, and desperation. So it's actually in your best interest to like stop doing that. I've had friends in the past that were like that, and it just was always really frustrating to me, of why they felt like they couldn't be a happy person, or why things were so unfair, or why this girl was so XYZ, just jealous, insecure, and bitter, and miserable, and therefore just like a victim in life just altogether. And it was just always so confounding to me. I'm like, do you not understand how unattractive this is? Why would any role want to hire you when you're coming in with this sense of desperate need? Literally there's like a fucking monkey symbol in your hand, like I'll do anything you want. It's like, that's just not helping you. And if you need money, that's one thing, but go get a fucking job. Like, go get a job. It's not this, you didn't come, you can't come to Hollywood thinking you're going to have, financial security. That's just like really not why, you're going to do this. So that's another thing. Like, you can't rely on this to make, hopefully, obviously, of course, but in those beginning stages, or even in the lean times, you can't go in like, that's just unattractive. So you have to take care of yourself and your needs, first, and then you're an attractive person.
And attractive doesn't just mean, I know what you mean, but not just like in a sexual sense. I mean, someone you want to hang around with, be with, that like positive light energy. Because when you, and I'm sure I've been this person, when you're around someone that is in such a victimhood, and we've all been through it, but when it's like almost like a choice in a sense, you don't want to be around that person. It doesn't, and especially when you decide you don't want to get out of it and you play this role, and I can say it from my high horse, it doesn't help you as a person, not you, but us as a person. And it definitely doesn't help get roles. And
I'm just saying that it's like, it's a vibe that you can pick up on, and it's
smell it from a mile
away.
Repulsive.
It's repulsive. And that's not to be mean. It's just like, would you want somebody coming up to you on the street, please, help me, give me $5? No, it's just no. So if you're coming from desperation, and I've been there. I know I've been there. Of course I've been there. I'm not coming down on anyone. I'm just saying it's also a choice to make another.
Exactly. And I think it's empowering to know that anyone can get out of it regardless of the situation. Yeah, there's certain realities, but I think I've heard you say in another podcast or maybe an interview that happiness is a choice. And it really is. Like, there's so many examples that I've heard where things have been really tough for a human, but they just changed their mindset, which is tough, obviously. And when you see through a positive lens, everything's different.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had to do that this morning. Of like, I was so upset about this guy and didn't work out. But then I literally in a moment, I'm like, okay, it all works out for me. Like, it's all good. Thank God I saw this now and didn't get into some huge thing with him. And awesome. Great. What's next? Let's go. And like, it's that just resilience, that I'm grateful to have cultivated, but it doesn't make it, it's still, the emotions are still there. I'm still like, I'm exhausted.
You're feeling them.
But I know that I can just it'll take me 20 minutes to get out of it and move on.
Well, you've done it pretty quickly. If it happened just today and you're already smiling and laughing and going back on previous stories to remind yourself, as I said, and I'm not saying this to suck up because I'm just using myself as an example. Previously, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You've obviously have to accumulate work, like vision boards help in a sense. I'm sure you do other practices as well to be able to recognize it there and then. Very rare. And I think that's a great lesson for everyone as well.
I also gave myself the day to like kind of do nothing. I had a huge day yesterday with the meeting that I had for a movie. And then this happened, and all of it was just really exhausting. So I kind of was like, okay, today I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to do my laundry. I'm going to do my dishes. I'm going to watch Amber Heard's testimony, and I'm going to do this podcast. And that's okay. Even if you're not like jumping from the rooftops today or accomplishing anything or sending any emails or selling anything or buying anything, it's fine. Just do nothing and you're good. And tomorrow's a new day. And that's kind of what I allowed myself to do today.
Oh, I'm so happy that you bring a real world example. And especially in this industry, I know like if I'm not writing, then what am I doing? If I'm not getting like a podcast guest, if I'm not doing something every day, then I've felt previously like I'm not doing anything, I'm wasting my time. But self-care, yeah, I could see you smiling. That is so important. There is absolutely nothing wrong here. 2 thumbs up. That is so crucial because we do have this societal thing where if you're not working, if you're not doing something, there's something wrong with you. And especially
that's my number one illness of my life. Like
expand.
I've had it since I was 13 and I don't know why.
Well, you were working at 13 on a soap opera.
Exactly. Why? Why wasn't I just being a kid? But it's okay. It's fine. No, but like, yeah, I've worked really hard on myself too to get to the point where I'm like, I have to remind myself though on days like this where it's like, okay, just do nothing. Don't have to respond to any phone call, email, text message, DM, nothing. I'm the priority. I need to do nothing today, cry maybe, whatever, have a cookie and watch Amber Heard's stupid testimony. Not stupid, but just the fact that I'm watching it is stupid.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I've also been watching like, I don't watch any of this stuff. This is not good for me. But anyway.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But yeah. And I think I need, I worked really, really hard on this project that I had yesterday for like the last month. And I think it was the culmination of it all yesterday. And I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted. I need to take a few days, probably the rest of the week, to just like regroup. And then when my energy has returned, something will come in, some new shit. As the world turns, every fucking week, there's something else. I have nothing on my plan book ever. I have nothing, and then by Sunday, it's like every single day I have shit to do. So this is how my life works. And it's,
I like it.
I trust that it's always going to be like that. So
we've had people talk about, and it's not burnout, but it's similar to like a burnout energy. You've been working on something and then it ends or whatever happens. And then they go back to like their cave and they energize.
Yeah.
And then once they've energized, things happen, whether they happen because we're more energized so we can see them or the universe is providing something for us. It happens in a really great way. But every time I've come from I'm at the bottom, I'm just struggling to like finish this script or struggling to do something. The script sucks. Like I suck in a sense. We need to get our energy back to a point where we can like appreciate like the good that's going to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I finally accept that, and I'm like, it's not try to push through exhaustion or burnout or, emotional overwhelm or whatever. And I finally do that. And I've learned that it's okay to do it and that it's always going to come back. There's no rush. There's no urgency. It feels like it sometimes, but that's my own mind. So
it's the nature of the world.
Just try to detach from that and pretend like if I lived in a forest
I also go there.
I didn't have any cell phone or computer, would this matter to me? Like, would I care? No. So I try to just go to that place a lot mentally of like, if, either like, if this is not going to matter in 10 years, is it worth it? Or would I be upset if I didn't have a cell phone and a computer to remind me constantly that I should be working? No. And so I try to, that's how I keep myself balanced, I guess, is by transporting myself into an alternate universe in which we are not ruled by capitalism.
Oh, that's actually a positive reminder for me because I actually go there as well. Like, what if I have a cabin in the woods?
Oh my God, I love it. Why are we so nuts?
I know, like, because the phone, the telephone, the news, all of this crap's in our face. But, if you spent 3 days with nature, like everyone on the planet.
Healed.
Yeah, even if you've got families and stuff that could still like work out, it would change everything. It would change our minds, our mentality, our like anxieties in a sense. I truly believe that it's nature's our best healer.
My cousin, I talked to her this morning and she's 20 and she's like just having this like terrible breakout, like from top to bottom, like red acne, like she's tremendously depressed and anxious, which I don't live. I've struggled with acne my whole Like,
Oh, really?
yeah. And this is like a good skin day for me, but like she's struggling beyond, and I'm like, feel really bad because I've been there. And I was like, she was like, I went to this doctor and that doctor and this laser and this cream and this wash and this. And I was like, Bella, I wish you could just go to the mountains for 14 days. Put your phone under and leave it at home and not bring anything with you. I think your skin would completely heal, and
Right.
you would come, like, I think that's what she literally needs, is not more products, more things, more Instagram targeted ads, more people with perfect skin making her feel more like shit. If she went to the forest with nothing, she would come back like fresh face.
I fully agree with you, but also it's a stress remover in the sense there's obviously like stresses in our life without getting into it that are like causing it as well. But also when the mind's clear, a lot of these things just kind of like dissipate as well, because the busy mind creates all of these crazy
Yeah,
things.
I'm like, you're adding more chaos with all the creams and the lotion. If you just went and like meditated for 14 days and like,
Oh, that sounds
I
so
think,
appealing.
I think you would be better than going to all these different doctors. But what do I know? But
No, I think you're right.
I just did a water fast for 6 days.
Oh, please tell me about that. 6 days.
6 days.
No
yeah.
food.
I had a cracker every day. Not gonna lie.
How did you? That's a fear of mine. My mum does juice fasts, and she's very aware of all of this stuff. And she still seems to have the energy. But if I'm only having fluids, actually, just as a side point, this is not a go at doctors. This is a go at one doctor. I went to a doctor to lose weight many years ago. And I was like, oh, because, there's so many different elements. There's stress. There's your gut isn't working properly. So many different factors. And I was like, you know what? I only come from all the alternative side. Let's hear what the doctor's got to say. And he's like, oh, I've got this really cool diet that might work for you. I'm like, okay, please tell me about it. And pretty much it was like oil, like this olive oil. It had no nutritional benefit whatsoever. No, it wasn't even oil. It was pretty much water. And he's like, yeah, it's going to actually impact your stomach lining. So you need to put olive oil, a bit of it, and then you'll lose weight. But he's not talking about the benefits of fasting in terms of fasting has many, many, many benefits. He's just saying purely from a weight loss point of view, which is crazy. So I said, if I'm going to do this diet, won't I feel terrible and not be able to do exercise? He's like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend you do much. I'm like, okay. Is there any nutritional benefit? He goes, not really, but you'll lose weight. But I'm like, but won't I just gain it back again if I'm just doing this weird oil type diet? He's like, yeah, probably, but you'll lose weight. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was so outraged. I don't know how I went on that rant, but there is many, many, many benefits of like fasting and doing like juicing and water. I actually haven't heard of the water one. Tell me about it and how did you feel?
I did it for health reasons. My stomach was, I had COVID twice and I just I have been feeling off like since then. And I just thought I would try it, and I lost like 6 pounds, 7 maybe, which I needed to. Like, I just kind of, I was eating too much. That's the real reason why you gain weight, is because you eat too much. And the reason why you don't lose weight is because you eat too much, and I think I needed to see that. And I'm not, someone who has a lot of weight to lose, but like when I'm overweight, I can feel it's disgusting. It makes me feel gross. So I finally saw like how much I was eating unnecessarily for comfort, or whatever. And
Speaking of me,
I broke my addiction to it. And that was the most meaningful part of it to me, was like, I saw how I could live with no food. And so whenever I'm eating, it's honestly just because of like comfort. I mean, obviously you need to eat, but like when I'm overeating or eating more than honestly like once or twice a day, it's just out of habit or comfort or fun or whatever. It's really not because you need to. And I saw just like through the matrix of like,
that's so cool.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, fucking coffees, smoothies, juices, weight loss shit. Like, I saw through all that, and I just like was like, whoa, you don't need any of this crap. And so yeah, it was a really good experience. I highly recommend it.
I like that you bring up the addiction side, because something that I've gained so much weight, I'm working on it. During COVID, it's not COVID's fault. It's my fault.
I gained 20 pounds. I gained 20 pounds.
Yeah.
From like in the last few, like 4 years, I gained 20 pounds.
And it's very common for me. It's not an excuse, COVID. That was me not getting out and whatever. Yes, it was harder, but that's on me. But I have met people now that I'm looking at it and looking at the addiction side, the comfort side, like sugar, for example, has been an issue for me. Why do I crave sugar and all of the comfort? I can see you smiling, so maybe there's
I'm
a
just
story.
laughing because you sound funny. You're like, sugar's my problem. Like, sugar's been
Do
a
I have
problem.
a thick Aussie accent? People can't
Yeah.
tell. Oh, really? I thought I always had a very soft one.
No.
So I can't pass as an American on an American sitcom. Damn it. I'm going to have to learn an accent. That's devastating. And I've met, like, the yogis around the world that literally don't eat for a month.
Yeah.
And they've got such a beautiful relationship with food as well.
Yeah. I think that's what changed for me was like, oh, I've been abusing food and shoving it down in copious amounts.
You have to keep me accountable. I'm delegating my responsibility to
You'll
you.
see it for yourself and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm a pig. Like, how did I ever eat as much as I did? Like, that's how I think now. Like, I'm like, how did I ever eat that much? Like, I went out to dinner for the first time last night and I had a salad and some French fries and a martini. And like, before I would have been like, and salmon and Brussels sprouts and mushrooms and French fries and dessert, and this was like, I couldn't even. So I was just like, wow, I really broke it. The addiction, I think, I hope.
No hopes you have. There are people that I know now they've done a lot of serious work on themselves and looking at their addiction patterns and blah, 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 blah. And they have a beautiful relationship with food. They don't eat food that doesn't align well with them in terms of if they feel tired or stuff, but they also don't eat, like, inverted commas, the best food in the sense. They're not going to go and just get like fried food all the time. They might have 1 meal or 2 meals a day, but when they're eating it, they're loving it. They absolutely love it, which is, pardon me, something that I aspire to do as well, is to really be conscious of what you're eating. And there are studies that it actually changes the way that you digest it and how you process it and all of that stuff without getting too woo-woo as well.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
That's the goal. Just from what we're saying before, we're talking about doors being closed and doors being opened and your forward-thinking approach. I don't know if I read this or, oh yes, you had a very forward thinking mentality as well when you decided to go to acting school, I believe. And I think you were basically saying no to everything unless if it was something really interesting, but you're like, I need to work on my craft. I'm going to kind of stop for a sec just so I can better myself. I'd love to hear that because that is very uncommon, especially when things are, which appear to be doing really well for you and things are coming away and you're just saying, nope, I need to work on myself.
Yeah, I think there was a time when I just, was being myself in my roles, which is great, which is you always want to do really at the end of the day. But I remember when I was like 22, I did Percy Jackson and it was challenging. I mean, it was for me, it was like something that I felt like I couldn't really connect to. And like until the director like kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And the fact that they saw me for the role and like they ended up, hiring me, like I was so grateful because but it felt like a step above what I felt really comfortable that I was capable of. Like it felt like there was some tools or something that because I was saying the lines, but I wasn't feeling them and I didn't feel confident and no. And I was like, this is the first time I really feel like I have to fake it until I make it because I genuinely don't feel like I know what I'm doing. This character has elements that aren't of me, this world is like not of me. Like, I don't know. I felt like uncomfortable and, it was still relatively like easy, role or not easy, but just, it was not like, it was still fun, but, I just felt like there was something beyond my capability about that role. And so that's when I started thinking to myself, okay, I'm going into these auditions, with these like more complex roles, feeling so unqualified and so uncertain about myself. I'm transitioning from like bratty teenager to like woman, or like young woman with like real shit going on. And I'm not feeling like I can connect to that. And I looked at like Natalie Portman or Jessica Chastain and I was like, how did they do that? Like, what am I missing? that they feel like it looks so effortless for them. And for me, I feel like it's a struggle right now. So I just felt like I don't want to keep like just banking on my charms, and I really want to know what I'm doing so that I feel confident.
That's awesome.
In the next like level of roles that I want to get. So yeah, I took that, that was like a no-brainer for me. I felt like,
Oh, really?
yeah, that was like a no fucking brainer for me. I was either going to go to Juilliard or something, but I felt like I needed to go to acting hospital because I was just feeling so kind of like ill-equipped. Like I had no tools, you know. I knew how to do an audition, I knew how to do a role, but characters and bigger circumstances and complicated relationships and subtle nuance, I didn't know. I felt like I needed to graduate past what I was just like innately capable of. And so I was trying to get a Juilliard, but they don't let you work for 4 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. That is crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, that wasn't going to be an option for me. And then I went to New York and went to a drama school there, and for 2.5 years. And then I was a teacher for a year.
Oh,
and so, yeah, I think I learned everything I needed to learn to make me feel capable of those kinds of roles that I wanted and that time. And now I feel like I'm sort of like, literally as of now, I'm like, how do I get back to how I was when I was 15? Like, how do I get back to that? Because I've been so serious for so long with my roles now since drama school. And I literally just want to go back to having fun again. Like I want to go back to the beginning where I didn't think about it too much and I didn't torture myself and I didn't sob for months on end. Like I want to go back to that. Like, how do I get back there? And I literally was asking myself this like yesterday, like, how can I just reconnect with that, like, more carefree, you know, version of me in my roles? Like, it's not as serious and dramatic. Like, more, I had so much fun. I mean, I always have fun, but like, just didn't think about it as much, you know. It takes so much out of me to prepare now, especially, you know, for big roles and stuff, that I'm like, what did I do when I was 19 and I didn't have any of this training and I just did things without, like, just trusting myself, you know. And like, I don't know. For some reason, I'm somehow now wanting to go backwards. So
I wouldn't say that. I think just from what I'm hearing, like given what happened today also would probably impact as well. And I'm sure I've been thinking about this as well. And COVID, there's been, you know, everyone's been feeling this as well. Have you ever done improv lessons? Because this is actually something I've been thinking of, and improv is pretty. Okay, go on, tell me. That's helped me.
So I did a little bit. So I actually hired an improv actor to work with me.
Amazing.
He comes over to my house and helps me with like comedy, more comedic stuff. And he told me I should do comedy, improv too, but I won't. So
can I ask why, or not in alignment with you?
I'm done. I don't want to take classes right now. I took directing class. I went to drama school for 2.5 years. I went to a comedy class during COVID.
Oh,
I went to another one during COVID. Like, I just don't want to be in a class right now in this moment.
Yep, understood.
Maybe someday in the future again, but I'm just like, no, I don't. That's probably a defense mechanism, but I'm too tired. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
So, but I do, he is like, you know, helping me, you know, with that stuff. But I also just remember being really comedic and light in my roles before, and I didn't have to take classes. I just did whatever the fuck I felt like. And I just want to get back to that girl who like didn't take herself too seriously. So yes, I went to the drama school. I don't regret it. I learned so much. You know, the roles that I've done have been incredible ever since, but now there is me wanting to return to like an innocence, I think. Now that all that's in me, I know that it's not going anywhere. I want to
put it out. Yeah, you put it out
to that mindset.
I think that by putting that intention out there, things move quicker than they would have. You've got that mentality. Add it to the vision board, and the results will be profound.
I'll put a photo of me. Sometimes I go on, if I need the reminder, I go on YouTube and watch like my old scenes from.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that could.
When I was younger, and it just does it makes me I never fucking prepared any of that. Like I just was winging it and I just had fun. And so I'll put a picture of me as younger on there.
Please do, and send me a photo of it on the vision board so that I know that you've done the homework I've given you. Um, but in terms of, oh yeah, you said it was a no-brainer that you decided to do this, and I agree with you. But sometimes realities kind of like hit home in a sense where you're working, and then you've said, "I'm not doing anything." There's the ego involved. You could like, you've just done these amazing roles. You mentioned Percy Jackson. You could think you are the best thing in the world. I'm too good for this. I don't need acting lessons. I've been in this hit show. But it sounds like that didn't even really, yeah. I think that.
No, I was like, I'm not good enough. I was like, I'm not good enough for this. I feel like an imposter, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to know I'm the fucking best. I know exactly what I'm doing. I can do anything any dramatic role that you hand me, I can do it because I know what I'm doing. That's what you just said is what I wanted to achieve, and I did. I know there's absolutely no situation you could throw at me that I couldn't do right now. Like I know that with 100% certainty. As far as, roles like a Jessica Chastain or Natalie Portman, what would do. So that's what I earned in that school. And I just, I don't know. I mean, I have other friends that were like, oh, I don't need acting, and I'm like, okay, well, I worked my ass off for 2.5 years. Like, and I sat next to and worked with people that had never acted in their entire lives. And I'm still friends with them, still to this day, talk to them every day. So, I don't know. It never really crossed my mind to have that mindset. I knew what I needed at the time and I got it. So I didn't really care what anyone else was doing. And I did work and book things during that time. So, really great things actually.
And that also is like credit to your mindset of saying that you just knew it was right for you. So based on everything that you brought up today, that things will work out for you, because you still would have agents. I don't know if you've got friends, you would still have potentially negative external voices. It's definitely agents. Don't go to school because they want the money. It's
right.
And you're young. You can be, not you, but people can be quite impressionable. And you're still like, no, I have to do this because I want to be here for the long haul.
Yeah. And I went to the right school for me. It
Nice.
wasn't like some random class in LA. It was like a very intense 2.5-year program that was like a conservatory almost. So like, it was a serious from top to bottom, like starting at ground one. It wasn't like a quick little acting class. It was like, hell no, like breaking you down from the very basis of your being. Like, so
Amazing.
it wasn't like casual in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's what I needed. I needed that like discipline and structure and like.
And also mindset as well. Like you're building that base of the pyramid. Yeah.
The work ethic in that school was like insane. And, we were doing so much good work. And so auditions felt like easy to me at that time.
Oh,
compared to class, class was work. Like, whoa, it was scary. It was scarier to go to class than to go to auditions for me.
Well, isn't that good that the thing that's like less impactful?
Of course.
Yeah, because if you can do that,
a lot of shit at the time, because I was like, well, I'm doing this huge play in class, and this scene, is easy compared to that. So yeah, that was the major bonus.
amazing. And I like the mindset shift and training it gave as well. What I also find really interesting is with imposter syndrome, and I've seen in all areas of life, and I've done this before, that when we feel like an imposter, we can actually go in a negative direction for us. It can be of detriment to us because we don't want to admit out loud to ourselves or even the world that we can't do something. But it sounds like you didn't have that ego attachment.
No, I just felt like if I'm feeling so unqualified, in what other area of life do you make a career out of something that you never trained at? You don't become a doctor without going to school. You don't become a lawyer without going to school. I'm lucky and I'm blessed and I'm talented, or whatever that even means. But I just don't feel like I have the tools to do this fucking job at the level that I want to do it at for the long length of time that I want to be doing it at. So it just was like a necessity for me. I mean, maybe it wasn't. I don't know what sliding doors would have happened had I not done that and like changed course, you know. I don't know what would have happened. I probably would have finally ended up on the CW.
On CW.
That's so mean. That's not, I don't mean it like that. I just mean that was where I was going. And it's not a bad place to be. And I'm not, there's nothing
What's
against
CW,
that.
by the way?
Oh, it's a network in America.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm not saying that's anything
Yeah.
wrong, anything bad. It's like a popular, you know, network, and it's like all the actors are so famous. And I always wanted to be on there, and I never really was. And I just kind of realized, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I don't think this is my style of acting. And like, I think I want to do like different kinds of things. So I set my sights to other things, and I wasn't like the cool kids, you know, fucking like, but I just wanted to I wanted to do my own thing.
Is that hard? You know, you mentioned you weren't the cool kid, and I guess especially, you know, you started on a soap opera, you're in the industry, there's a lot of what sounds like some pretty weird stuff, but it is a bit of a club in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you would have felt immense pressure trying to fit in.
Yeah.
How did you work through that?
I didn't.
Well, it sounds like you have now, but
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I always wanted to be on like Pretty Little Liars, you know, like I never could understand why I wasn't, you know, in the teen bop scenario. I was always doing some weird like artsy thing, you know, or something a little offbeat, you know. But then I kind of came to realize, like, you know, someone like a Kirsten Dunst, or, you know, somebody like that, Emily Blunt or Amy Adams, like they, you know, I just sort of stopped, you know, kind of wishing I was like a part of, you know, that, and kind of just seeing again the long-term vision of like, this, maybe this is my path, you know, and I'm not supposed to be on Disney Channel and be friends with, you know, Miley Cyrus. Like those are the things you want when you're like 19 years old, you know. Yep. And I wanted those things, but then I was like, I don't know if this is actually me. So okay, you know.
Can that be hard? Because Hollywood tends to want to box you in or pigeonhole you into a certain role. And every guest has spoken about how like they're the nerd, or they're the hot person, or they're the bully, and that can, to me, that's like the last thing I want in my life. I don't want to be told I am this person, so stay in my lane. And it sounds like, I don't know if you've had a relationship with being like pigeonholed, but it sounds like you wouldn't accept that no matter what.
I mean, I think I definitely was like pigeonholed for a while, and like I still am if that's what you want to say. I just know, I think it's like, it's your strengths, like play to your strengths, you know. And you don't have to be everything for everyone. Of course,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
want to be, you know, but I know my strengths now is like, I'm an action badass. That's like my strength. Can I do other things? Yeah, like I'll, you know, sure, of course, and I do, but that's my strength. And for a long time I like resisted that, you know, and I wanted to be again like the Disney girl, or I wanted to be the popular girl on the CW, or I wanted to be, but then I was like, I just don't, maybe I'm more intense than that. Maybe I'm more dramatic. Maybe I'm more physical, you know. And I started to just kind of like see those things as like a good thing instead of like limiting.
Nice. Yeah,
you know?
That's awesome.
Just own who you are and what you know, and stop wishing, you know, for some, I don't know. I mean, I still want to challenge myself and all of that, but I also am aware of my strengths.
It's very interesting. I heard this example as well, like with Hunger Games, for example. Correct me if I'm wrong. I only just read a snippet. I think your agent said that you weren't right for the role, or they didn't believe that you were like, I don't know, the role was like tom girl, sorry. And you fought for that role, and you showed them a different side to what they thought you were. And you're like, no, I can do this role. And I thought that was really awesome, because you could just say, no, I'm not doing it. They don't think I look like this person, but you're like, no, I am this character. I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they say that and they're kind of right. And I'm like, oh, thank you for not me wasting my time. But when it's like, I know that I'm like, no, not gonna, no.
That's
So
awesome.
that one was
So
very
what did you do? You get the no, your agent said you weren't right for the role and you didn't
Yeah.
believe that, like, they're your team in a sense. If you want to
Yeah.
do it, they should be saying you should do it.
Exactly. So my manager was like, at the time was like, oh no, you definitely are. And I don't remember. I think she ended up contacting the casting people instead of my agents, and kind of, we like went behind their back. This
Amazing.
bitch was she was ruthless, I respect that. And I ended up getting it, obviously, and I ended up firing my agents because I was like, you guys didn't believe in me. Sorry.
Nice.
And they were livid, but I'm like, I don't give a damn. Like, you guys didn't believe in me. I proved you wrong. Again, it's the proving wrong thing. I don't, I have always had that. And yeah.
I think that's really important, and I'm happy that you're smiling. A nice reminder to you and everyone as well, because we've all got that in us as well. But didn't you, please correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you like practice archery?
I did.
You really went 100%.
I really did. I really, really did. My boyfriend at the time, like, would like go to the mountains with me and like film me running around with art, with bows and arrows. And I don't remember if I sent it to them or what, but I definitely went for it. And I don't remember if they told me. I don't think they told me to do that. I remember watching like Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich and being like, how can I get, into that mindset, and I was, and so, yeah, I very distinctly remember going to like the mountains in La Crescenta with a bow and arrow and like cargo pants. I also remember, and like covering myself with dirt, like rolling around in the dirt.
That's amazing.
And I remember, like, I went to the audition and I was wearing the cargo pants. I still remember exactly what I was wearing.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's pretty much exactly what I was wearing in the arena. It was cargo pants, brown leather boots, and like a V-neck t-shirt. And my hair in like a ponytail, like a braid or something. And every other girl there was wearing a sundress. And I was like, you guys don't get it. I was like, you guys don't get it. Like, you don't get it. But you don't, how can you, like, you don't get it. So, yeah, I thought about that actually this week because similar thing I was doing for this other movie. I was going out to the mountains with swords. I was doing the whole thing. And it reminded me of that girl that did that in Hunger Games. And I was like, I don't think I've done something like this in 10 years, like 10 years. I haven't given my all like this in like 10 years. And I really obviously wanted this role and was willing to do it. And it just connected me with that younger version of me that's like, was doing it, just out there for the love of it. Just, I had the sword, I had the accent. I was like, I was doing it. And that was this week. So that just, I remember it took me so close back to that time of like, damn, I feel like I'm doing Glimmer again. Like, I feel like I am in that same exact mindset.
Amazing. And you were smiling and you were so passionate about it. You have to keep on continuing that because that ignites your whole soul and everything.
It made me so happy. I mean, when I can get that involved, I think that's why I'm like such a physical actor, maybe action, is because when I can get really involved physically like that and transform, it makes me really happy. More than just like sitting down having a conversation. That lights me up, like knowing, like pushing myself physically to something that I don't do on a day-to-day basis, like that makes me really happy. So, and the fact that I did it, at this point in my career and like went out there and filmed it like that this week, like that just, I don't know, it just, yeah, it made me happy. So it doesn't happen all the time. It's pretty rare, that I'm that passionate about something, but when I am, I'm going for it and nobody's going to hold me back. You know what I mean?
That is very inspiring words. You've also mentioned that you've gone into like producing and directing and I think writing as well, which is also relatively new compared to acting, for example. You become a pro in one arena and now you're starting again in a sense,
Yeah.
but it's all in the same world. So that would also be a little bit nerve-wracking as well. Can you, what made you want to get into that side?
I think like doing the leads of a few different projects and kind of really being involved creatively, and realizing that I have a really strong vision and like point of view and like taste. I've seen so many movies. I'm like an encyclopedia for movies. My friends always ask me, you know, what was this actor in, or that movie, or and this director, what was their first movie? And like I know almost everything. And so I just have so many images in my mind, and I just have like a style and a point of view. And so and I started wanting to tell my stories after I was doing the leads of things, seeing that I had a lot to add. I was like, why not me? You know, and I was seeing people like Lena Dunham and Frankie Shaw and, you know, Zoe Lister-Jones, like young women, Olivia Wilde, like doing it. And I was like, damn, why not me? Like I can do it. I've been at this long enough and I know what I'm doing. So I still haven't done a feature, but that's going to be the next thing I do. And, or a TV show that I've written. And, you know, I've written 2 TV shows now. So, and I've done I directed music videos, and that was really cool, but I definitely a feature next. I'm ready for sure.
And I think that also adds, like, being an actor, you can wait for the phone call, but writing, you're actually empowering yourself to do other things and not just wait as well. I think that's
it's hard for me now when I like see a script that I really like and the lead, and like I'm auditioning for it, the lead or whatever. I'm like, oh, I wish I was directing this, you know, too. Like, so it's harder. It's easy. It's fun because I know what the director's thinking and how to communicate better. But I'm also like get very like not controlling, but I also see a vision as well, and I have to remember my lane if I'm not directing, you know, and just acting, which is harder for me now.
What adds to your forward-thinking mindset and the longevity of like adding all of these different like skills so that you can, you know, add your vision and do different roles. And I think that's really awesome and empowering.
I want to be like Reese Witherspoon plus Olivia Wilde. I don't think Reese Witherspoon directs, but she produces really incredible content. And, you know, Olivia Wilde has an incredible creative vision as well, like visually and everything. So I want to bring those two together, be making stuff for women.
Amazing. We're going to do a very quick rapid fire segment to wrap up the podcast. So the first thing that springs to mind, but you can take your time if you need to think about it. Biggest pet peeve? Inappropriate
remarks. Aggressive men.
I won't comment on them because I'll derail them, but that's a good one. Do you have a certain philosophy on life that you follow?
Everything always works out for me.
What's been your special ingredient to work all these years?
Myself.
If money wasn't a factor, would you change anything?
No.
What would you do if you knew you could not fail?
Nothing different.
Something you want to get. No, that's great. Something you want to get better at.
Acting, directing, singing. I want to ride a motorcycle, surf. I would like to surf better. And I would like to be a better person, friend. Yeah. Everything, basically everything. I just never want to stop getting better at everything that I always do.
I love that. You're a singer as well. Have you recorded songs? Did I read that correctly? Can you tell me a little bit about that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my album is coming out like next week. So,
what? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, make sure
it's kind of like a surprise album because it's just kind of like, I'm not, you know, I'm just dropping it soon. But I directed the music video for it as well. So it's pretty cool. It's like more like an art piece for me. It's just like, I did it during COVID. And I mean, I wish I could sing better, but I just like singing, you know, I don't think you have to be perfect. And I have 5 songs on an EP that's coming out on Spotify and iTunes and all that.
What's it called so people can check it out? And I'll also provide links.
That's Leven. I'll send you the links when I have that.
Amazing. That'd be good because this will be out in about a week and a half, so people can check it out.
I'm not sure when it's coming out exactly, but once it's out, or hopefully if it, I'll send you the links and when I
yes,
get them.
please. Last two, if you could go back into a time when you were first starting out, what advice would you give yourself and why?
Like stand up to them. The men, the people that are making you uncomfortable, say something right now. Don't let it go too far. And be like, you are good enough. Like there's nothing you have to change, do, add, think, be, feel. I would always look around and think there was someone better than me doing because they were doing better than me. And that kept me feeling, I don't know that. So yeah, I would say that.
That's awesome. This is the last question before I ask how people can follow you and keep up to date with you. What is the one question I should have asked you? I can see the smile.
What's your favorite movie?
And what is your favorite movie?
Legally Blonde.
That's a good one. I think that's a great way to end the podcast. Before we go, how can people follow you, keep up to date with you, and we'll hopefully have the link to your awesome music album very soon.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Not the most social media active, but I'm Leven Rambin on Instagram and Facebook, I think, Twitter, I think. But yeah, I don't know. That's it.
We'll upload it in the episode notes so people can check it out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I love your forward-moving mentality. And yeah, you're the best.
Too. I like your shirt and good luck with your sugar addiction.
Thank you. I will work very hard on it.
I love Leven's chutzpah. She recognizes that she's number one, but not in an egotistical or narcissistic way. She stands up for herself and doesn't do anything that isn't in alignment with her values. We can see how this has paid huge dividends for her and her career. She highlights the importance of being true to oneself, acknowledge where we're at, and when something doesn't go to plan, it's okay to take time out and process. Leven also goes one step further and knows when to stop pushing through to prevent burnout, which is all too common in our modern world. Despite her being at the peak of her career, Leven realized that if she wanted to have a successful long-term career, she needed to expand her knowledge and skill set. Thus, Leven put aside her fears and went back to study. This courageous move enabled her to continue her career with confidence, knowing, and accelerated passion and love. This is a reminder for me that there really isn't one plateau. One doesn't just arrive. We can always grow and improve. So I'll leave you with this epic quote by Amina Ha. When you put yourself first, it means you love yourself. And when you love yourself, you love others. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy.